Here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the rains have moved in and halted activities for the remainder of the afternoon. The track is now closed as the clock is now ticking. We are just 18 hours and 29 minutes away from the chase for the pole for the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500.
This is SportsCenter at the Indianapolis 500.
Earlier in the afternoon, a frightening incident just before 2 o'clock local time. Rookie Paul Dana smacks a turn to a wall. Here comes two-time champion Sam Hornish, hits debris and blows over backwards, reminiscent of a hydroplane getting in the air and going over backwards. The good news is Hornish walked away, able to climb out from that damaged machine over in turn 2. Along with IndyCar expert Scott Goodyear, I'm Jerry Punch, and it's our pleasure to be joined now by two-time series champion Sam Hornish. And Sam, you know, first of all, we saw that horrifying incident a couple hours ago. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, it's really just I got to thank God that you know, they do have the yellow lights, because I'd slowed down from, you know, we ran a lap of 2:26.5 or so right before that, and I was slowed down to about 170 when that happened. So you could imagine another 50 miles an hour what that would have done.
In slow motion now, we can see the gearbox lying in the middle. There's debris everywhere at the track. Were you able to see that, or just did you not see it and able to move in time?
I did see it, but the thing that was really screwing me up as far as that goes is one of his half shafts that came out, and it's, you know, basically a 2-foot long piece of straight steel, and it was cartwheeling down the track, and it's probably just a little bit to the right of that on that picture. And I figured if I hit that with, you know, the front wing or, you know, the wheel or whatever, you know, it can shoot it right back at. So I figured that was the lesser of the two evils, is to hit that other piece and hope that it didn't do much damage. But obviously it looked a little bit worse than it actually was.
Now, Sam, last year we saw all the accidents seem to happen in turn 1. This year it seems to be turn 2. Do you think it has anything to do with the new track surface or the grinding that they've done? Well,
there's always been a little bit of a depression there going into 2, and I don't really feel that as much this year. So I don't know if some of the drivers aren't, you know, as tentative going in there. But we've had a lot of wind conditions today that are really just you know, this week, that were just blowing on the back of the car and taking some downforce away from the car. But I haven't had any problems through there other than this deal. But you know, hopefully we'll get through it and not have too many more problems like that later.
You see the incidents there in the trouble spot. You saw, of course, that Darren Manning incident. You saw Buddy Rice, last year's pole sitter and winner. And this one, of course, today with Paul Dana. You probably were too far from Paul Dana. Could you have any idea what happened to his car as he entered the corner?
It just looked like he got a little bit loose. And when I was in the infield care center, they said that they brought him in, and I could hear him talking in the next, you know, little stall over or whatever. And he said that he had been loose there all. You know, they asked him, "Do you remember what happened?" He said, "Yeah, I've been loose the last 2 runs, and they wouldn't, you know, put enough down, or couldn't get enough downforce in it," or I don't really remember what he said, but you know, I think that it just looks like he got in there, and, you know, he got a little bit loose. But you know, it's just problems that you have. You know, you're going out there, you're trying to get a good run in. You know, we knew the rain was coming. We had a good setup on our T car, and, you know, hopefully you know, our primary car will be as good as what that one was tomorrow afternoon.
You rarely see these incidents happen. Of course, you know, Paul Dana spins, but you rarely see a car get up and get airborne. But a couple of years ago, when Mario Andretti was here testing in hopes of possibly subbing for an injured Tony Kanaan, a helicopter was watching the test and watched Mario's car in almost the same spot hit debris and get airborne.
Yeah, that's basically what I was hoping. You know, everybody goes, "Well, what was the first thing that you thought?" And I thought, well, I hit the debris, and I thought, well, that's going to tear up the bottom of the car. But it actually jerked my head down far enough that when I looked back up, all I could see was the fence. I'm like, don't get into the fence, because as you could see when the front of the car hit the fence, it, you know, starts doing some really violent things. And, you know, this was basically just kind of like a, you know, what they call in sprint cars, just a gentle rollover or whatever. You know.
Now, have you been upside down before?
Not in a car. I've been in a go-kart, you know, a couple times. You know, all the speed that you run with open wheels and that. And you sometimes will get upside down, but never in one of these cars. And I hope I never get in that position again.
So what's the experience like? I mean, does it get quiet when you're upside down, or what goes on with that?
I don't know. It all happened pretty quick, and I was just thinking, you know, all I thought was don't get in it. And then I saw the ground coming up, and I thought, just kind of braced myself and tried to hold my knees back, and it was just one of those things where you don't really have enough time to make the, you know, it's like getting hit when you're not expecting it. You don't have time to make a face or anything like that. It just happens, and try to do the best you can when it's all over with.
Well, you're recently married, so not even, what, maybe a year or just coming up to a year or something like that, and your wife is in the pits. Crystal, what did she say when this all happened, when you got to see her?
She came into the medical center when I was in there, and she looked like she'd been crying, but she knew that I was okay, and that's the best thing. I hope nothing ever happens to where they don't have that knowing already that I'm okay. But it's that's part of it. They know. My mom, my dad, Crystal. Crystal's been around since I've been running IndyCar, so she's had all this experience and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully I don't put her through too many of those problems.
Well, let's move ahead and talk about what happens tomorrow for Sam Hornish and the Marlboro Team Penske crew. Now, the good news is you were the quickest Toyota on the track today at 2:26.7. The bad news is it was that car that you had turned the quick laps in. What happens tomorrow in qualifying? Your backup car, actually the 6th car, scheduled second out here when qualifying begins at 1 o'clock Eastern. Yeah,
we were 4th quick with our T car and 6th quick with the primary car, so we were really actually pretty happy with how we were doing so far for the day. We're going to try to transfer over everything we can from the T car to the primary car. We were really planning on running the primary car anyhow, so it's just one of those things where we'll put everything together the best that we can. We get a little bit of practice tomorrow morning. Hopefully things will go well there. And with the run that we had going on at that time, I think we were going to be over 2:26.5 for our average. So while that may not be enough for the pole, hopefully it'll be enough to put us in the top 6 or so. And that's that was my goal when I came here this year, is just to be able to put myself in position where I can see the beginning of the race, take my time, and hopefully make it all the way to the end.
Now, Roger Penske's had that happen before. Back in 1991, for you folks who follow IndyCar racing, on the last day prior to qualifying, Rick Mears flipped his car in turns 1 and 2, very similar to where you are, and the next day came back in another car and set it on the pole. So the precedent is there. No pressure at all, Sam.
Well, they also said that Sneva did it 14 years before that. And this is, of course, 14 years after Rick did it. So I said, well, thanks for jinxing me, guys. You didn't have to tell me about that yet.
Drivers aren't superstitious.
Sam, thanks for coming in and joining us today. We're glad you're okay, other than maybe a bruised knee and a little bruised ego. We look forward to having you be a major factor in pole qualifying on Saturday.
I'm really looking forward to it. This whole Marlboro Team Penske team has really just held together and done some great work for me over the past year. And I hope we put a good run in for the pole, but I hope we put an even better one in there for the race.
And let's put it to rest. The Indy bad luck for Sam Hornish out of the way here on the first week now. It's going to all be good luck downhill here for the race and after pole qualifying. When SportsCenter at the Indy 500 rolls on, rookie sensation Danica Patrick joins us to talk about her first week at Indy and her chances at capturing the pole in qualifying for the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500. Take a look at some of the speeds on the racetrack today before the rains came. Yes, Thomas Schechter in a Chevy. The Bowtie Brigade, 2:27.804, quickest time of the month.
SportsCenter at the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by Century 21. Visit your local Century 21 office. Real estate for your world.
IndyCar Series rookie Danica Patrick continues to be impressive here at Indy today. Danica recorded 3rd quickest speed of the afternoon, 2:26.769. Still 2nd quickest overall on the month-long speed charts. And after she got out of the car, Marlo caught up with her.
I'm joined now by Danica Patrick. Danica, as far as this track goes, with the rubber being washed away, what will this do for your setup?
I'm not really sure because it's my first time here and the rain comes down, and I'm imagining it to be something like ROP or the first or second day of open testing. So the balance is probably going to stay pretty similar. Maybe just the grip level might be a little up or down. I don't know. Those grooves are good. So I guess I'm not really sure whether or not when they wash away the rubber in between them, if that's more grip or not. Rubber usually is better, but we'll have to see.
Do you feel after going into qualifying tomorrow that you do have a legitimate shot at the pole?
Definitely. I think coming into this month and driving for the team that I drive for, I could only be optimistic and hopeful that, we'd be sitting on the front row and looking at a pole position just on, what happened last year.
You did mention the front row. I mean, with the speeds that you have run, would you be disappointed with anything but a front row?
A little bit right now, I think. I think we definitely have a really good shot at front row. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for pole. I really am. I think that if we get everything together and car is consistent and does a good time every lap as opposed to just 2 of the 4, I think that we have a really good shot at it.
With the limited amount of practice time that you guys did have because of the rain, did you have a chance to put everything you wanted to on the car to see what you guys really could do?
I don't think we necessarily put everything on the car. We could have, but we came pretty close, and I would imagine a lot of other people have too. We saw the weather screens just like everyone else did and kind of knew it was coming. So we feel well prepared, though.
All right, thanks, Danica.
Thank you.
Jerry, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Marlo. Danica Patrick, as she, I think, this week has impressed even the most grizzled veterans here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. She has been so impressive. I mean, I was impressed before this week. I thought she is the real deal. She's worked hard. She's a legitimate race car driver. Gender shouldn't be a factor here. We should start talking about her ability on the racetrack, but she does not look like a rookie.
You know, she's very talented. At only 23 years old, you have to say, you know, she's fast, she's fit, and most of all, she's focused. She knows what she wants to get done. She came here with a plan. When you talk to her, you soon know that she has a goal in mind, and it's to be up front. I've been very impressed. I think everybody up and down pit lane has been very impressed. But you know something, Doc? Tomorrow will be the first time that you're on the racetrack all by yourself all month, and they say it's the hardest 4 laps that you'll ever run, and the hardest time that you ever go and put 10 miles around a racetrack, which is going to be right here, because all the pressure cooker goes when they tell you to start that motor to go out for qualifying. I felt it. Everybody feels that. Even if you've been here a few years, you have to get qualified for this race. They say the race is actually not as tough as qualifying.
She talks a great game and looks very quietly confident standing there talking to Marlo a moment ago, but I've still got to wonder what goes through her mind tonight when she goes to bed. I mean, what about your situation? Were you able to sleep before you qualified for the first time here? I mean, how much sleep do you get thinking about those 4
There's
laps?
no sleeping. You know, when you come here as a rookie, there's absolutely no sleeping. I mean, you're awake many times in the night. You're putting all these things through your mind about, you know, what might happen tomorrow, and you got butterflies in your stomach. It's hard to eat, but as soon as they start that motor and you drive out on the racetrack, actually some of that just sort of goes away. But from the time she wakes up until the time she gets to the racetrack to the time she finally gets in the car to actually go out and qualify, it's going to be Butterfly City for her.
Well, the draw happened this afternoon, by the way, and Danica Patrick drew number 18. So of the 54 cars that took drawing spots, she'll be in the first third. So we'll see very early what Danica Patrick and that Argent Pioneer team have for us. And I think it's going to be a great run by the rookie here in Indianapolis. Now, coming up, Danica's teammate Buddy Rice continues to recover from Wednesday's practice crash. And we'll talk about the defending champion and what lies ahead as he heads back to the racetrack early next week. As we leave you, we'll show you some more speeds from this afternoon here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As practice early today, Sam Hornish at over 226.2. There's Matsura at 223.8. And just a reminder, we'll be here throughout the month of May, getting you ready for the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500. Join us Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time as we recap a busy weekend of qualifying and hear from the 2005 Indy 500 pole sitter. And we mentioned on Wednesday last year's pole sitter and reigning champion of the Indy 500, Buddy Rice, a hard impact into the turn 2 wall. The car spins around. He was taken to Methodist Hospital, spent the night there, discharged the next day, and has been back at the racetrack today. And the good news, Buddy had some soreness in the low back, had a mild concussion, but looked pretty good today when I talked to him early this morning at a press conference here. Look, he was feeling pretty good. I personally thought he looked great.
Actually, I think he looked great. You know, I think that we were very surprised because, you know, it was such a hard hit that he had. But the key thing for a driver, because of my past experience, I've lived these sort of things. If you are mad and really PO'd at the whole situation, I'll tell you what, you are ready to come back. And when I spoke with him after the press conference today, he is definitely mad. He's eager to get back. So I would look forward to seeing him in the car maybe sometime next week. Yes, a second weekend qualifier. The best he can start is probably somewhere around 23rd on the grid, but he's going to be in the field. And with the current qualifying rules that we have, actually, you know, the field could have been full this weekend, Doc. If the old rules were in place, he might have been starting 33rd and at the back. But right now, with the new qualifying rules in place, he has an opportunity to qualify on day 3 and qualify 23rd.
Well, and he came back today. I asked him, I said, Buddy, you know, with the concussion, you know, how about the memory? Do you remember the wedding and the honeymoon? He looked at me and said, I'm not married yet. I said, well, you're fine then, because you're right, you're not married yet. He and Michelle getting married later in the year, but he had a big chuckle out of that. He looked good, and hopefully. Now, how difficult is it psychologically for him to get back in the car next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Well, I think right now, absolutely he's ready to go do it. You can see it in his eyes. You can just see that he's anxious to get going. The biggest, hardest thing for him right now is the wait to get into the car. He will not be cleared this weekend from what we understand, so you've got to wait all the way through till Wednesday.
A tough break for Buddy Rice. So I'm sure he was going to be a contender for the pole, but he'll make second week qualifying. Pretty exciting here. When SportsCenter at the Indy 500 continues, we'll look at some of the contenders and pretenders for this year's pole, plus relive some of the great pole day moments here at Indy. Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this ends there just before 2 o'clock local time today. Rookie Paul Dana, hard impact into the turn 2 wall. He was taken to Methodist Hospital on a stretcher, and we have just been handed word here, as you see Sam Hornish's car blow over. We've talked to Sam already. He is A-OK aside from a bruised knee. But we have just been handed word from update from Dr. Henry Bach, who is the Indy Racing League and IMS Senior Medical Director, that Paul Dana has been admitted to Methodist Hospital. He is awake and alert and has been diagnosed with a spinal fracture and concussion. Further testing ongoing. He is scheduled for testing on Saturday. So obviously Paul Dana out of the Indy 500 this year, but awake and alert. It could have been a lot worse for him. Now, the new format for pole qualifying could really provide some drama for us on Saturday. Positions 1 through 11 up for grabs on pole day. In fact, every car in the field can get up to 3 attempts per day. So, Scott, we could see a high-speed game of I can top that all day on pole day. A lot of extra drama with the new format. What is the weather conditions expected on pole day? Well, the forecast for pole day calls for mixed rain with thunderstorms early in the morning, with the rain continuing into early afternoon. The rain eventually will leave by mid-afternoon, leaving partly cloudy skies. Temperatures expected in the mid to upper 60s. That's cooler than it has been much of the week. We have had temperatures up toward 80 early on in the week. Well, time now for Scott and I to play a game called Pretender Contender. We all know that Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon are contenders for the pole, but let's take a look at a few more drivers, starting with Danica Patrick. Scott, is she a contender or a pretender?
Well, I'm going to mark her down as a pretender. You know, the fastest rookie of the month so far, and faster than the veterans yesterday at 227.633, but 4 constant laps to actually be on the pole here at Indianapolis, and I think that she probably will not be able to do that, so I'm going to have to say she'll be a front row person.
Brazilian Vitor Meira, contender or pretender?
A contender for sure. You know, he sat on the pole in 2 other IndyCar races, and he's always fast, understands how to get a car up to speed, so he's got the right teammates in Danica Patrick and Buddy Rice.
2-time pole sitter this year, BRYAN HERTA, contender, pretender?
Pretender, you know, but he's a smart and savvy driver who's a better racer than I think he is a qualifier, but I think that he'll have a chance on race day for sure.
Quickest lap of the month today for the Chevy of Thomas Scheckter. Is he a contender or a pretender?
Contender. If anybody's going to actually ruin Honda's parade here for the pole, it's going to be Chevrolet and Thomas Scheckter in the Pennzoil car. You know, he led so many laps here, he could have won the race in 2003 before crashing.
2002 pole sitter here, Bruno Junqueira, contender, pretender?
I'll mark him down as a contender. You know, this guy is talented, he's focused, and he's very fit, and I think he might just be the surprise of everybody up and down here on pit lane.
The Champ Car Series champion, albeit a rookie, Sebastian Bourdais, pretender or contender?
Pretender. You know, he is a rookie, a road course specialist. He's from Le Mans, France, but he has actually Bruno Junqueira to get him through this whole month. He'll be very fast, but not on the pole.
Last year's Bombardier Rookie of the Year, Kosuke Matsura, very quick early in the week. Contender, pretender?
Pretender. Outstanding ability, the 2004 IRL Series Rookie and Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, but I have to tell you, I don't think he'll get all the laps done to be fast.
Here's the 2001 pole sitter, Scott Sharp. Contender, pretender?
Contender, as you mentioned, on the pole before, 5 other poles in this series. He has a Honda power, he has the right team, and he's got the spring in his step.
The pole sitter at Motegi in a Toyota, Sam Hornish, pretender or contender?
Pretender, although he's one of the most talented guys that we have here for sure. Flipping that car today certainly won't help, and I don't think the Toyota power plant is going to assist him either.
How about the talented Scotsman, so quick early in the year this year, Dario Franchitti, contender or pretender?
Well, mark him down as a pretender. He's with the right team, the Honda power, but he's a better racer than he is a qualifier, and he's thinking about race day.
Oh, that's what Scott Goodyear thinks about what's going to happen on pole day. You rev up your engine Saturday afternoon as pole day comes your way. 89th running of the Indianapolis 500 pole qualifying starts Saturday, 1 o'clock on ESPN, ABC at 4 Eastern, back on ESPN2 at 6 Eastern time. And speaking of pole day, John Anderson relived some memorable pole day moments in tonight's SportsCenter Top 10.
At number 10, Roberto Guerrero. For one day in 1992, he was Indy's fastest man. The first over 230 miles an hour, 232.482 miles per hour to be exact. Unfortunately, that was the height of his month of May. On race day, he crashed out of the race, on the warm-up lap. Number 9, pole day 1962. Parnelli Jones puts his Offie-powered Watson Roadster on the pole at 150.370 miles an hour. He was the first to go over 150 in Indy and got 150 silver dollars for the feat. Number 8, the British invasion of 64. No, not the Beatles. The rear-engined Lotus. Grand Prix star Jimmy Clark stormed the Indy beachhead, won the pole at a record 158 miles per hour. They did everything but win the race. A.J. Foyt brought home the last Indy win for the good old front-engine American Roadster. At number 7, Turnabout in 1965. First, Jimmy Clark zooms his Lotus past 160 miles an hour. Then, 64 winner A.J. Foyt leapfrogs Clark for the pole. Clark got the last laugh, however, on race day by winning the Indy 500. Part of the legendary year that saw him also clinch the Formula One World Championship. At number 6, that was the sound of Indy in 1968. Andy Granatelli brought jet turbine-powered cars, and they dominated pole day. Joe Leonard and Graham Hill took the top 2 spots and were clearly faster than the rest of the field, except for front row mate Bobby Unser. On race day, Leonard and Unser dueled to the final 10 laps. Leonard broke down while leading. Unser went on to win. The jet turbine, however, was banned from competition the following year. At number 5, Scott Brayton in 95 and 1996, because he was the fastest at Indy. Brayton went over 231 miles per hour to win the 95 pole. The next year, he withdrew an early qualifying attempt, then snatched the pole from Arie Luyendyk with the fastest pole-winning speed ever, more than 233 miles per hour. A few days later, tragedy struck. Brayton was killed in a crash during practice for the 500. Number 4, pole day 1977, and Tom Sneva. He put up the first 200-mile-an-hour lap in Indy history on the way to taking the pole position. Just like Parnelli Jones in 62, Sneva got a helmet full of silver dollars for the feat. Only he got 50 more, 200. Number 3, Sneva outdoes himself in 1978. Went over 200 miles an hour and made it stick for the entire 10 miles, a pole-winning speed of 202.150. That's a new track record at the Brickyard. At number 2, Rick Mears won the pole with track records in 1988 and 89. But 89 500 winner Emerson Fittipaldi put the foot to the floor in 1990. 225.3 miles per hour to snatch the pole and the track record. Oh, by the way, Mears, second fastest. And at number 1, Rick Mears' body of work. Mears won the pole at Indianapolis 6 times. 4 of those efforts good for a
new track record.
But his last pole was the grittiest. Pole day 1991. Mears crashed his Penske in practice, but he walked away and then put on a show in his backup car at more than 224 miles an hour to win the pole. On race day, Mears won a heated duel with Michael Andretti to win his 4th Indianapolis 500.
Our top 10 pole day moments and memories here on SportsCenter. Scott, do you have a favorite pole day memory from your 11 attempts here at Indianapolis?
I guess probably has to be 1995, having a chance to put a Honda on the front row for the very first time. So, and leading to turn 1, it's got to be a memory. And
you also put Firestone on the front row for the first time when they came back here. So it's been a great memory for Firestone tires. Of course, we mentioned once again today that the rains moved in and the track closed early. So now all that it's set for the drivers is to sit and watch and worry and wait, because pole qualifying for the Indianapolis 500, well, the clock is ticking. And as we move in, we are just less than 18 hours away as the clock ticks toward pole qualifying. Will sensational rookie Danica Patrick be able to pull it off and be on the front row? The Chevys have come back to life, with Thomas Schechter turning the quickest lap of the month. Schechter over 227.8 miles per hour. We'll have it all for you on ESPN at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday afternoon. That'll do it from SportsCenter from Indy.